tell me about your tennis journey, because I know you've played professionally.
Yeah.
It's not just ace. You've
Yes,
actually
yes,
played
yes.
internationally as well.
Yeah.
So how's that journey been like, and having tennis as a career, not just a hobby?
I think that that was a tough one because um, when I wanted to start playing international, in fact, when I was playing tennis, my dad wanted me to go international. Obviously, he saw the likes of Venus, so
Yes.
his mind was you're gonna go to the world and you're gonna play in the world tennis
Right.
tournaments and not just locally here
Yeah.
in Ghana. And I think that that has always been my dream as well. So at some point, I had to make that step towards going to the
International.
world. And as a young child, I didn't know the financial, how do I say?
Implication?
Yes, I had
Yeah.
no idea. I mean, I kind of had an idea of what it means because
Right.
obviously I've been in the sports and
Right.
I know what it means, like it costs to
Mhm.
play the sport, but I didn't understand that, and it got to a time where I if I don't do it for myself, nobody was going to do it at the time where I wanted to pick it up.
Right.
Because my
At what stage or age were you when you were
so
gonna
I
be
think that
looking to play
maybe I was
international?
like maybe I was 19
Okay.
then, and obviously I had passed 18, so
Yeah.
now I can play women's. No, I'm not playing, and
Yes,
I'm no
you're an
more
adult
juniors. Yeah,
by age. Yeah.
yes, and I wouldn't say I don't know what I'd say. Unfortunately, my dad was not in the picture then
I say
also.
you had passed, or no?
So he hadn't passed
Okay.
yet, but he wasn't in the picture at that
All right.
point. So I didn't. I wanted to pursue the career,
Yeah.
whether my dad was there or not,
Right.
and I have always had the support of my mom because he it was both of them that were training me.
Both your mom and your dad trained you. Okay.
Yes, to play tennis.
Right.
So I started, practicing. Obviously, I gave myself about I think 2 years to
Mhm.
practice, consistent practice, and
This is for the international, right?
yes.
Yeah.
And then it came to the point where I needed sponsorship, and it became a big hassle.
Aw.
Like it became big, and it's interesting. Like tennis comes with a lot of risk, especially when you're training an individual person, and
Right.
it's so like it's so expensive to
Yeah.
sponsor someone. And I don't think that then I had a team, and even myself, because it was just myself anyway, that was able to put together or argue or create that space where I can really attract sponsors. And so I started coaching on the side because I saw my friends do it and save up and travel.
Oh,
So I'm
okay.
like, and it was all the national players, but it was like just the male national players. So I was
Who
like,
did that?
why
Right.
do you people get to do that and I
And
can't
you
do that? Like,
right.
because I remember we used to
Yeah.
train at the offset mess,
Mhm.
and they would play and they would make money at the end, and I'm like,
Yeah. Okay. So there was no female coach. No one. Aside your mother, you've not
Yeah.
had any female
no, no,
professional
no,
coach.
no, no. I have never had a female.
Wow.
In fact, even when I was as a player, I never played against females. Like I never trained
Wow.
against females, so I got so used to playing against male
Yeah.
players that I used to hit a lot of power, and that's where all my
Yeah.
power because from
Came
from childhood I never played with a
Yeah.
female. So I remember even when I used to play here, I struggled a lot when the other female is not playing so much power because that's my
That's what
comfort
you've
zone.
learned, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
You were talking about the sponsorship, though.
yes.
Yeah.
And I mean, eventually I started getting some help,
Yeah.
and I also started like coaching on the side, saving up, and I started making my trips. I
Right.
started with going to the neighboring countries, so you have Togo, Benin, and Nigeria,
Okay.
and then eventually I made my first trip to Europe,
Mhm.
and that trip was something else. I feel like that trip was more like I don't want to say a beckoning, but for me, I went to Italy,
Mhm.
and ideally we were like, okay, we're gonna stay a bit and train a bit before
Right.
we have our tournament. And my friend introduced me to this beautiful family. It's a tennis family, and they're like, hey, come with us to our tennis center. We get to the tennis center, and guess what? The head coach, which we called Maestro,
Okay.
he saw me when we were playing, and apparently he used to be the former Italian number one, who was
Wow.
Fabio Fognini's coach.
That's
And
huge.
he saw me, and then he was like, he called, and he couldn't speak English,
Yeah. I can
and he
imagine.
called me. He had a
Right.
translator there, and he's like, I'm gonna coach you whilst you're here, and he gave me free membership to the club as number one,
Right.
and he coached me every single
Oh,
day
that's
for about
beautiful.
3 to 4 months. And I remember one day after training, I was sad, and he was like, "Why are you sad?" And I'm like, "I feel like then I was young, but I was like, I feel like I'm growing, and I feel like, I mean, I don't see, I know I can play,
Yeah.
but I don't see where the help is gonna come
Yes.
from." And he said something to me that never left me. He said, "You're black. Never talk about age. You're strong. You can always do it. So keep pushing." And I felt like coming from an Italian black man, like white man,
White man,
who was
right?
straight up in my face telling me, "You're black. Don't ever mention age. It doesn't matter to you, and keep pushing because you're strong." I was like,
That's
okay,
beautiful. Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
and I mean, a lot happened. I played the futures,
Mm.
and at some point, I was like, there was no more money traveling back and forth between cities,
So you fund
hotels.
all this entirely, right? When
Yeah,
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 that's a lot.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so at some point, I was like, okay, this is not working. I need to like retire in a way.
Right.
And it was too early, to be honest. It was
Early.
way too
Early
early.
20s, I presume.
Yes, and
Right.
it was way too early. So I came back home and I'm like, listen, if I have to remember one thing that I learned on this trip, it was what that man said. You're black, you're
Strong. Right.
strong, never mind about age,
Age.
just
Right.
keep pushing.
Yeah.